He's sleeping. Like my webcam?
Yeah, but it's not working.
Good. They're asleep.
There's nothing on my, show me where. YouTube studio, nothing playing.
No, it's not Tammy's chicks.
Well, that's. Show me where.
YouTube studio. Yeah, I'm having a hard time finding it. Content. Live. It was there a second ago.
They're sleeping. The chickies all okay? Oh.
Yeah, here's your phone back.
I can see the gun barrel come right across my eye.
I just had blood shooting out both sides of me, and then I knew that I had no arms at all.
I stood there shaken. I had no clothes on, and I could just feel a gun pointing at my back.
The emotion I felt was fear. There was no rush of adrenaline. It was strictly fear. The store had, at all times, 2 armed guards while the store was open. At 10 o'clock when the store closed, one of the armed guards went home. And then he stayed in the store with us until we all left at 11 o'clock. I was in my office, which was set a little bit off of the customer service office. It was a little bit elevated. This person was yanking on this door, so I stood up and looked down. That's when I saw a black male with a gun in his hand. And as soon as I looked down and saw that, that's when he forced the door open, took 2 steps up in the office, put the gun in my head, put it right on my forehead, and said, "I'm going to blow your head off. This is a robbery. Open your safe." The emotion I felt was fear. There was no rush of adrenaline. It was strictly fear. I said, "Okay, calm down. We're going to get the safe open." I walked down a couple of steps into this hallway, small hallway back to customer service. I told them, I said, "Hey guys, turn around. We're being held up here. It's a robbery." We got back to the safe, and at that point, he told us all to kneel down on the ground. I went over to the safe. I started spinning the dial. I don't know the combination to the safe. That's when the gunman came up to me, put the gun barrel in my ear, pulled the hammer back, and I could tell he was nervous. The gun was rattling around in my ear. I'm spinning the dial on the safe, trying to buy some time because I knew I couldn't open the safe.
I was an 18-year-old senior in high school, living on a farm, rural, very rural area. You're alone a lot of the time, and that's just pretty much how it was growing up there. And my parents had left for Bismarck to see my cousin who's in the hospital. And my brother's sister had already moved off the farm, so I was home by myself with just me and my dog. and my chore for the day was to unload barley from a grain truck into our grain auger, into the grain bin, using the power takeoff shaft off the tractor. I was just standing there watching the grain come out of the truck into the hopper and into the grain bin, and I must have got too close to the shaft, and it grabbed my shirt tails because I didn't have them tucked in, and it started wrapping my shirt up, and I reached down to pull my shirt out, and then my arms got caught in my shirt and I got wrapped in with this power shaft. The next thing I know, everything's just dark and I'm just feeling fun. I open my eyes and my dog is licking my face, and I'm laying on my left side, and I didn't know what was going on. I knew something was wrong because my right arm felt really weird, and I looked over my right arm to see what was wrong with it, and I couldn't see it, and I thought it was broken behind my back. And while I was looking at it, I was trying to push myself up with my left arm, and I wasn't moving. And I looked back to my left arm, and I could see where my left arm was ripped off from right below the shoulder. And then I looked back at my right arm, and I noticed the right arm was missing right below the shoulder. And then I knew that I had no arms at all.
My childhood consisted of physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. When I was 14, I went to live with my grandmother to get away from the abuse at home. And for the next 3 years, my grandmother's boyfriend sexually abused me. I was tired of living. I decided one day I wanted to commit suicide. I was tired of being abused. I didn't think I was worth anything. And I sat down and wrote my suicide note. I put the suicide note aside, and I went to work. My boss came to me and asked if I could work a double shift, which was late into the early mornings. But I noticed a car in the middle of the church parking lot. It kind of seemed odd to me. I, at that point, felt scared. Something was wrong. And next thing I know, I felt like someone just knocked me in my throat and knocked me to the ground. And I felt the barrel of a gun to the left side of my temple. There was a man standing over me with a gun. At that point, it was so dark, I really couldn't see him. I just felt his arm around my throat. And he dragged me to his car from behind. I knew it was red or maroon color. And I noticed the wheels had like spoke wheels in them. And then he threw me to the passenger side and told me to undress. My attacker demanded that I perform a sexual act on him. I was shaken with fear. I was deathly afraid that he was going to kill me. Here I was thinking about killing myself, and now I'm going to be fighting for my life.
Well, when I started messing with the tumblers to open the safe, that's when the gunman came up to me, put the gun barrel in my ear, in my right ear. I knew he was nervous. I could feel it rattling around in my ear, and I knew I was nervous. But I was scared that he might shoot me on accident because he was so nervous. He got mad because I was taking too long. He pulled the gun out of my ear and hit me right over the head with the gun. He hit me pretty hard, split my head open, but it wasn't hard enough to drop me. I just kind of staggered and held on to the counter. My grocery manager stood up and tried to open the safe. But Mike was nervous, and trying to do the tumblers on that safe when he was nervous, he couldn't do it. Gunman got mad at Mike, punched him in the face, and knocked him down. Rose stood up and said, "I'll get the safe open." She did it all the time, every day. She got up, opened the safe for the guy. He grabbed some money, bricks, we call them bricks, of 1,000, the $1 bills. Grabbed 3 of those. There was a trash bag, a bag hanging on the counter right behind him. I told him, I said, "There's a bag back there. Use the bag to put your money in." Because the whole time, I want to get this man out of here. That's what I was thinking. He took the bag, put the money in the bag, and then told us all to stand up. Let's go. That's when I saw gunman number 2. He was holding a gun on the security guard and my overnight janitor. They were both sitting cross-legged on the floor. I was surprised to see a second gunman. And then I was even more surprised to see the security guard with an empty holster, and the second gunman had his gun. So they told us at that point, lie down on the floor. All of you get close together, put your heads up against the wall, and lie on your stomach. Well, I knew that wasn't right. So when I went up against the wall, I laid on my left side. And by laying on my left side, I could look across all my people laying there, and I could watch the gunman. And I told Rose was my office girl, and she was right next to me. I told her, I said, "Rose, this isn't right." She says, "No, honey, it'll be okay." I said, "No, Rose, they wouldn't make us do this in a normal robbery." And no sooner I said that to her, the 2 guys opened fire on us.
I never felt any pain. I had no clue that anything was wrong until I really looked at myself. I knew I had to get up and get to the house, and I couldn't lift myself up because I had no arms to do that with. And I eventually got myself to sit up, and then just kind of bounced over to the tractor tire and put my back against the tire and pushed myself up that way, used the tire to support me. And I stood up and took a couple steps and looked at myself again and just screamed for a few seconds or a split second, and looked at my dog and just calmed down right away. He just sat there looking at me with his head cocked inside, his ears sticking up, and just kind of telling me, we're going to get to the house. And I just kept looking at him and kind of concentrated on him, and him and I walked up to the house together. I just got down on my knees and bit the doorknob with my mouth and turned it with my head to get the main door open. And once I was inside, I just stood there and looked down and realized how much I was still bleeding everywhere. The walls on both sides of the hallway were just covered in blood, because when I walked down, I just had blood shooting out both sides of me. So I just kind of quickly went across the room to get to our office, where it was the only place we had a touch-tone phone. Knocked the phone off the hook with my nose, and I was trying to dial, at first using my nose, and I kept hitting the wrong numbers. So then I grabbed a pencil with my teeth, so it'd be easier to punch out the numbers. And then I done it that way and called my cousin. I never once thought about dialing the ambulance myself, I just thought about calling somebody else. And she thought I was joking with her and really wasn't taking me serious. And I'm like, "Tammy, I'm not joking here, this is serious, I need an ambulance right away, I don't have any arms." And then she's like, "Okay, I'll call an ambulance to get out there right away." I was sitting in the office and I saw the blood that was collecting around on the chair and stuff, and then I went to sit in the bathtub so the blood would just be in the bathroom. It had blood pretty much everywhere, and then I slowly started to quit bleeding because I was running out of blood.
In the car, my attacker demanded that I perform a sexual act on him, and I did it. After the sexual act was completed, he told me I was going to continue to show him a good time tonight. If I did what he said, I'm going to be okay. He put a blindfold on me. He bound my legs and my arms, and then he drove off. When I was in the front seat and the seat was back, I could see beneath my blindfold, and I kept seeing a bright light on the dashboard, and I finally got to read it. It was Magnum, the word Magnum. I believe that when you're blindfolded, all your other senses come into play. I remember hearing the sounds of the car needed a tune-up, the different wind change once got into the interstate. We drove down the interstate for a few minutes, and he drove off the interstate until he pulled up into a wooded area, and I had no clue where I was at. I was scared then. He ordered me out of the car. We walked to a door. I was blinded, so I remember having to I felt this door, it felt like a wooden door with glass pane. He removed my blindfold and my bindings from my wrists and my ankles, put me in a shower, and ordered me not to look at him. He held me close and he gave me a shower.